Hi, this is Bill Prater, and welcome to our video blog, Lessons on Leadership. Our objective is to provide you with timely and hard-hitting resources that inspire, promote, and celebrate leadership excellence.
How to be irresistible. If one were to open a box labeled "What it takes to be a great leader" and look inside, we'd find that it only takes 3 top-level skills. Number 1, the ability to clearly establish the vision. Number 2, the ability to consistently create the culture. Number 3, the ability to constantly intercept entropy. These skills, of course, apply to the organization the leader's directing, but they're also very applicable to self-management. So let's talk about entropy as it relates to your own personal growth. Specifically, let's examine education as it applies to your own personal growth objectives. Think about a continuum with entropy at one end and continual improvement at the other. In the center of that continuum would be a perpetual student. The overall objective of education is, of course, to position yourself for continuous improvement in your own personal skill set. Far too many people expose themselves to educational materials and classes, but fail to actually apply the new knowledge. Case in point, imagine a sporting competition involving a series of lumberjack skills. These skills include using axes, saws, and other strength-oriented tools. In the end, the competition came down to 2 finalists. One of them was a small, wiry, and fiery young woman, and the other was a gigantic, bombastic giant of a man. As you might expect, in the early going of the contest, the monstrous man took an early lead. Strangely, even though she was far behind, the young woman took hourly 10-minute breaks. At noon, she took a full hour off versus her opponent's single 10-minute break. Towards the end of the day, when the shadows began to lengthen, she began to close the gap, and eventually she took the lead. As the time limit for the contest began to approach, her lead became insurmountable, and she won. Everybody attributed her success to the frequent rest breaks she was taking throughout the day. But when they asked her about it, she said, "Oh, I wasn't resting, I was sharpening my tools." Keeping sharp is essential. Every leader should be able to recognize the parallels between themselves and the 2 participants in our story. Time and time again, on a daily basis, you see the hardest working and the most skilled individuals not finishing on top. You see the manager coming in on weekends and staying late, but not keeping up with the other managers in the company. You'll see business owners who insist on doing everything in their business while wondering why they're not the ones whose business is at the top of their industry. The applicable lessons. Number 1, leadership is a complex undertaking, and it takes a variety of skills, including the big ones we've listed at the top of the article. They all need to be constantly updated, refined, and learned. Think about these as the educational opportunities widely available to leaders and managers. Number 2, regardless of how much applicable educational opportunities are taken, they are worthless unless put into action in the workplace. Investing time and treasure in unused education is truly a major waste for everybody. Number 3, be constantly in touch with your current level of skills as it relates to the requirement of the job and the responsibility. Having a direct correlation is key. Remember, the best accountant doesn't always make the best CFO. Number 4, take those 10-minute breaks to constantly sharpen your tools versus simply working harder. In summary, make it a practice to continuously assess your own skills and your own situation relative to your profession. If you see you have a gap between what's needed and what you have, close the gap with adequate education, mentoring, and coaching to be the best you possibly can be in the job you have at the time. Then continuously ask yourself if you are applying what you're learning and not just learning.
In closing, Always keep in mind, leaders become great by learning and applying the right skills, core attributes, and dedication to excellence. So make the commitment right now to emulate the behavior of the great and join Leadership Lessons on Demand.